Let me get things started here. So, good evening, everybody. And this is the April meeting of the Carolina Orchards Americans for Democracy and Equality. I love saying that. I'm Gary Pierce. I'm your president of this group, not the country or anything else. We are going to have a guest speaker tonight, speak most of the program, Matt Vilardebo. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Is going to talk to us. I'm going to be the TV engineer, so I'm going to disappear back here. So I'm going to turn it over to Niall in just a second. If anybody shows up on Zoom, they'll pop up on this screen here, and they'll be up on the speaker, and we'll be able to hear them. Don't know if anyone's going to show up on Zoom, but I'm going to keep Zoom going in case they do, and also it's recording. So, somebody has showed up. Hey, Shelley, better late than never. Can we hear you? Say something.
Hi, everyone.
Okay, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to stop my video, but I'm here.
Okay, so I am going to turn things, I was going to say, I am going to be the television engineer back there. Niall is going to come up and MC, and if you all have questions here, in order for Shelley and anybody else on Zoom and the recording to hear it, you got to talk into a microphone. So if you're not hearing it kind of echo around, then you're not getting on TV. We want to make you all TV stars. Okay, Niall?
Okay,
right. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gary. And Gary did introduce Matt. And I'm just going to tell you a little bit about him, and then I'll have Matt, go into more detail. We first encountered Matt when he was running for the Fort Mill Town Council in 2021. Although that was a nonpartisan race, Matt clearly had a progressive background. Now he's the candidate from the Democratic Party for this state house seat, currently occupied by Republican Raye Felder. Matt, it's all yours.
Hey, good evening. Hey, everybody. So, it's great to be here. I'm not going to stand up here and give like some long political speech. I'm hoping I can take some questions from you guys and just maybe give you a little background on me, who I am. So for those unfamiliar with me, Niall said I ran for town council last year. That was a nonpartisan race. I tried to run that as nonpartisan as I could up until like the last 2 weeks, where I signed up for Act Blue and just kind of did my thing. That was a learning experience for me, even though I lost in what some would call a landslide. I learned a lot about the town, the kind of things that people look for in a candidate outside of my party, which is where I need to go to get votes to win an election in a place like Fort Mill, in a county like York, in a state like South Carolina. So I'm looking forward to this election. We're a lot more organized. We're a lot more planned out. We began planning for this race probably a week or two after the town council results came in. You can see I'm much more prepared. There's no waiting on campaign materials and things like that. My three big issues I want to focus on. One is going to be the paper mill. I'm sure y'all are smelling it real bad here, right?
In parts of Carolina Orchards, not where we are, but there, the other parts of O and N over there.
So that paper mill impacts multiple issues that any politician would be looking at. It impacts our education, the kids outside playing, breathing in that stuff. It affects our quality of life. Nobody wants to go outside when the neighborhood smells like black liquor fuming in from the paper mill next county over. And it also impacts things like real estate values and overall quality of life for all Fort Millians.
Does anyone know if the Indy paper mill is affecting the water supply?
So it's being tested regularly, and there are permissible limits of pollutants going into the Catawba River, for sure. But they're not operating outside of the permissible range, unfortunately. So there's no going after them on that level. But something I do want to share on that issue is I used to work at that plant. So that's what brought me to Fort Mill. I spent a year working in that paper mill. It's a good goal to have, right? So no other politician in South Carolina, in Columbia, in the United States of America knows about that paper mill more than I do. I look forward to using that knowledge to bring some like justice to the environment and to the people that live here for what that plant's doing. They're operating on one paper machine there. That plant's barely operating at a quarter capacity at this point. With the right kind of pressure, they're gonna have to fold up. It's already a Superfund site. There's multiple problems to deal with at that paper mill once it's over with. And I would rather just get the cleanup process underway and wrap up operations at that Catawba site. Issue number 2, education in the state. We've all seen what's going on in Columbia. It almost feels like the public education system is under attack. I moved here from Florida, where I watched former governors, Jeb Bush, ruin the public education system in Florida with a voucher program. I know here in South Carolina, they refer to it as an education spending account. It's a voucher program. It takes your hard-earned tax dollars, gives it to private institutions who have no standards for education, teachers. Yeah, there's some fine private schools in this state, in this county, in this town, but our tax dollars don't need to be funding them. Now, next issue. The infrastructure in this town. There's a lot of available monies for improvements like sidewalks, bicycle lanes, and just fixing the roads in general, but we need somebody advocating for that, and it's really that simple. My opponent does not advocate for those things. There's federal funds available, we just need somebody to go chase these things. It is really that easy. The money's there for the taking. The town's not going to do anything about it. They're already washing their hands on it. If you check their social media for the town council members, they're already passing that buck off to the state and the federal.
Does Raye Felder actually do anything? I've tried to get in touch with her, never get an answer.
So I can tell you that I hear a lot of good things about my opponent. She's a former Person of the Year in Fort Mill. People always seem to comment about how nice she is. But I also hear other things about Raye Felder, like, I don't know who he is. So people vote for her just because she's got the right initial next to her name, the right letter. That's how people vote. I respect that. Unfortunately, that's just how people vote. There's nothing you can do about that. It happens on both sides of the fence. I feel like people can reconcile their feelings on the other side of the fence with how they feel about things and still vote for me. I'm looking to make things better for Fort Millians. I'm not looking to be a servant of Joe Biden. George Soros has not backed the money truck up to my house. I am not looking to turn Fort Mill into a woke paradise. I'm looking to bring some common sense legislation to this town, divert some tax dollars to this town, to fund some projects that'll benefit everybody. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, I will be supporting you all I can.
Thank you.
It seems to me, I'm riding around here and there's a lot of building going on, and that means tax dollars are coming in.
Yes.
You know, I'm all for the education being improved too, and I love public schools. I wish we could put on in the newspaper how many people that have succeeded in this country went to public schools. But anyway, I just wonder, where is all the money? You know, like, where's the money?
So that's a great question. Impact fees are assessed when new communities are built, new homes are built, new developments are brought in, correct? So we would like to think that those impact fees are being used for the betterment of the town. I think when you take a look at the books, which should be available at the town level because they are a government entity, I think when you look, you're going to find a lot of money being spent on things like the Strawberry Festival and such.
Like what?
Strawberry Festival.
Building the amphitheater at the park. The amphitheater, you know, I support that endeavor. I thought that was a good use of our money. And I feel like the best is yet to come because that was built and done during the middle of a pandemic, and we haven't really, I feel like there's real opportunity to bring in some, you know, interesting acts and events to that amphitheater. We're just starting to scratch the surface on that. But I'm curious to see that, but not to pass the buck, I think that's a great question to show up on a town council meeting and ask.
Yeah, but somebody's making someone is making a lot of money, and I'm talking at the state level. Someone's making a lot of money in this state. They really, truly are. I mean, I'm originally from New York, but I also lived in Georgia for quite a while. And I saw things happen in Georgia, growth that was just unchecked completely. And it was a mess. And Charlotte keeps saying they're not going to make the same mistakes that Atlanta made, but they are. But getting back to South Carolina, we're growing a lot here, and the traffic is going to be unbelievable in this area. I mean, it is already, and that big the area across from here that's going to be wrapping around to 21. There's going to be a lot of traffic coming from there, because they're not single dwellings. I don't think they're more like condos or apartments.
I was saying across the street is going to be townhouses. And across, over by CVS is going to be all single-family homes. It's going to get very congested around here.
So me as an engineer, we would like to plan things for the future as engineers. We design things with the future in mind, right? Do we feel like that's happening with the way we design the roads here and the infrastructure here? We feel like the city's been planned well? I don't know. I mean, we got a bike park a half mile up the road here, right? Adventure Road entry to the Greenway. No bike lanes to get in there. No sidewalks leading up into there. Downtown's awesome. Sidewalks, nice pedestrian crosswalks there on Main Street, our little half block Main Street. I love it. But when you get into the neighborhoods and when you get into to Fort Mill, right? I live over off Adobe's Bridge under the water tower near the baseball fields. I don't walk to Neighborhood Market, but I'd love to. My kids, I'm scared to have my kid walk into the vil-ARE-de-bo. You know, they got to walk through the high weeds and there's no sidewalk at all. There's a young lady that used to make that walk often, and I stopped and talked to her one day. And I was like, man, you got to be the bravest young woman in this town to do this, because it's just odd to me. We're this really small town and we're so disconnected. You know, I feel like within a 3 square mile radius, you should be able to walk to your downtown and walk to a lot of places, bike to a lot of places, things like that. But it's just not possible here. And it's, you know, a lot of that has to do with poor planning. So, and I also want to speak to something else you said about wealth and people getting rich. So like this state has a lot of wealthy politicians in it, right? You know, we got a guy that's representing us in the House of Representatives in DC, is worth over $40 million. Our governor's multimillionaire. My opponent is a pretty well-off woman. She's made her bones on development and land deals in this town, okay? So me, I wore one of these for most of my career. Almost 30 years I've been doing what I do. And most of that was spent with one of these on top of my head. I earned my money with that. I earned my money busting my body to get where I'm at. I'm not wealthy by any stretch of the means. There's a problem in this town. People want to be politicians, and how do they do it? Well, they take several $1,000s from their personal bank account and drop it into their campaign account. I'm not doing that. Every stitch of everything you see is paid for by the people of Fort Mill, by my family, by my friends back home, by my donors. I don't fund campaigns. I'm held accountable. I work for y'all. I don't work for me. I'm not in business for Matt. I'm in business for the people of Fort Mill. This campaign's built on the people. My town council campaign was built on the people. I refuse to be the guy who, you know, Elon Musk, who, you know, I want that, so I'm going to buy it. It's not how you do things. Sorry. I went way off tangent there.
No, we understand. We're Democrats. We understand. We're opinionated.
So at any rate, you're going to hear me talking a lot about this hard hat. You're going to hear me talking a lot about that paper mill. I feel like my skill set as an engineer makes me uniquely qualified. You know, multi-billion-dollar companies pay me to show up and make them more billions of dollars. Kraft Foods, Mosaic Fertilizer. Duke Energy. Yeah, I haven't worked for some of the most environmentally sound places in my life, but now I've settled into this great career working for the United States government. And I work in hospitals and I work in medical research buildings and I help keep, our troops healthy and safe. So what I'm doing now definitely makes me feel a lot better about what I do every day compared to what I used to do.
And Matt, where are you from originally?
I'm from Tampa, Florida originally.
Okay.
I'm a Southerner, born and raised.
Okay.
I don't, I've tried very hard to keep accents in check and not have an accent and be twangy, but sometimes I get a little twangy.
You said y'all.
I say y'all a lot. That's my thing. Hey, y'all, how's it going, y'all? All that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm a man of the woods. I spend a lot of time hiking. I spend a lot of time growing up hunting and fishing and being a Boy Scout. I love the outdoors. I love fishing and hunting and things like that. I'm just a different kind of guy.
How did you get into politics?
I am educated in politics. I have my bachelor's degree in political science. I really thought I might have wanted to be an attorney or a campaign manager. So when I finished my bachelor's degree and I opened up the one ads and didn't see anybody hiring political scientists, I was quite shocked. I was a bit idealistic and naive, I guess, back then. So I went back to work for my family's business, where my father is also an engineer and does something similar to what I do now. And I rode it out with him for a while until I was able to graduate out of there and get on with some larger firms and move my career to where it's at now. But yeah, politics has always been a passion project for me. Always been involved. When I was 18, knocking on doors for Bill Clinton, calling people for Bill Clinton. I got to vote for Bill Clinton during his first run and second run. I was always active in gubernatorial races in Florida, knocking on doors, working old school phone banks, stuff like that. I always support my candidates. I always put the action first. It's easy to get online and hit the keys and talk it up online and yak it up with your friends about how you feel about things, but it's another thing to get out there and actually execute and put forth the action. So that was always important to me, to be able to do the work, be out there doing the work. So yeah, it's always been something I've been into. I just now I decided was
Now it's time to step up, huh?
well, so I was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease 2 years ago, and that's kind of changed my whole outlook on life. So there's no more time. Now's the time. Everything is now. There's no free time. There's no me time. There's no pamper time. It's just time for Matt. So I don't know when the Parkinson's is going to pull the rug out from underneath me, but I know that today, I'm living for today, and I'm executing everything I wanted to do in life now. So, yeah, I'm fired up for this.
I haven't really been sure, and I just wanted you to know that I was going to ask him something.
Thank you. Grab a card and a
Yes, I will.
decal on your way out.
I get lots of emails from the morning, so.
Thank you.
Lots of luck to you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you for coming. Also, Matt, I wanted to ask you, how can we help your campaign?
Okay, so I brought some of my business cards and some window decals. The biggest, easiest, first and foremost way, right? Money. The campaign runs on money. I need campaign contributions. I've been doing a good job of fundraising. We've raised thousands of dollars so far. We're hitting goals, but I've got $50,000 we got to raise for this campaign in order to beat Raye Felder. Why? Because I need to mail a bunch of stuff and do a lot of advertising and let people know I exist. That is one of those lessons I learned in town council. People may not like them, but those signs matter. You get those signs out, people see your name out, people know. There's a lot of people that show up on election day and vote based on whose sign they saw first, whose sign they saw the most, and whose they remember. I feel like I did a good job with my logo. So
That's all you saw during the town council were the Republicans. I know it's nonpartisan, but that's whose signs were out everywhere.
yeah, I mean, there was a correlation between my opponent and another man who had their signs together everywhere. And, I definitely felt like I was running against a team instead of one opponent. And it was frustrating having an opponent that wouldn't engage with me, that didn't knock on doors, raise funds, and do the work. And people were like solidly, it was just frustrating to me. So, but that's the way people vote. They believe in the guy, they know him, they go to church with him, and that matters to people. I've tried to be a lot more involved in the community here, be a lot more of a fixture around town, and I do a good job of promoting this town. I feel like I'm an excellent example of a Fort Million. You don't need to be born and raised here to be a great Fort Million, right? I mean, there's more of us who weren't born and raised here than were born and raised here. That demographic has changed.
I was going to ask you, are you getting a lot of help?
Right now, I don't need a lot of help, to be honest with
Really?
you. We're waiting for the primaries. There's not much I can do. It's too soon to put out signs. It's really too soon to start knocking on doors. The calling is my responsibility because I'm really looking for money at this point. I'm trying to build a war chest. Raye Felder's got $40,000 saved up right out the gate.
Is it just her and you running?
Yes, I am the Democrat. I am on the ballot in November. Boom, it's locked in. No one else is running against me. I'm your guy.
So not to be stupid, what happens in the primaries?
Nothing. Raye and I hang out and bask in the glory of getting the nomination.
Okay. Because I know a lot of people here are not really big on going door to door.
Yes.
So if you get to the point where you need things like postcards and stuff, this might be the place to come and ask us.
Yes, so a lot of that kind of work I pay for, and that's what this money goes for. I pay a marketing company to design things, they print it, and they address them and mail them for me. And all I got to do is I get the overprints, and that's what we use to hand out when we knock on doors. And it makes life real easy. But I have thought about what you're discussing because I do a lot of DIY stuff. I bought some of my t-shirts. I bought some window decals that I did pay for, but I make my own business cards, print them at home. I print the t-shirts and get an iron and make them at home. I try to do as much as I can. I try to be frugal and smart with my money like a good Democrat would be. With your money, not just my money, your money. Well, hopefully your money, right?
You want to say anything? No? What about you?
I'll take you brought decals with you
I brought decals
for the car?
for the window.
I'm risking my car to put Democrats on my car.
You would not, I'm not,
You're not hated.
I'm a unique guy in town. I'm not I wouldn't say I'm disliked for being a Democrat in this
Right.
town, and I feel like I'm it's tough to come at the Parkinson's guy with a lot of hatred and the sort of vitamin vial that you see in an election, right? It's just not a good look.
Do you guys do any debates?
Oh, I would love that more than anything.
Would she do it, do you think?
I have heard in the past that she is not inclined to that. And we just don't have a very strong League of Women Voters, Daughters of the American Revolution.
Oh, no, Joyce is going to talk about that.
Wait a minute, Joyce.
But-
Wait a minute.
but they-
Say that, repeat that.
We actually have a York County League of Women Voters chapter now.
Yes.
And we would love to be able to help to encourage debate. There is Vote 411 on the web that gives information about the candidates. There will probably be questions you will probably get from the league to post, and we post the answers on the website. I was one of the founding people in this because
Nice.
I came from my third state with League of Women Voters. And when I got here, there was no chapter, and I said, that can't continue.
Correct. I like that. Thank you. So I come from in the Tampa Bay area in Florida that, those sort of organizations are the ones that host and put on the debates typically. And around here, that just doesn't happen often. I know the Fort Mill Economic Partners, which is sort of like a side branch of the York County, what is it called? Dang it. Anyway, Chamber of Commerce. So they put on the town council debate last year, what they called the Candidates Forum. So hopefully they'll do something like that. We'll see. I know WRHI usually invites in the candidates after the primaries to get some free airtime. I know my opponent did not take advantage of that, interestingly enough, when I ran for town council. I do not imagine my opponent in this race will take advantage of that. Or
Last year, the league did do a debate in Rock Hill. So we don't know, we haven't decided what we're doing yet this time, but you'll hear about it.
I can't wait. I would love to debate. I'm a very confident speaker. I'm used to being in front of a camera and a microphone, and I've been on TV and done numerous podcasts, and I've been in the paper and stuff like that. I was on Good Morning America, so being on camera is fine. And debating people. Yes, ma'am. Hi.
Hi there. I was wondering if you go on to public radio. I mean, for me, the issue of that smell from the plant is really offensive, and I think there are a lot of people that don't notice it. I've asked people if they've noticed it. There are a lot of people that don't notice it, but I think that would be a tremendous issue if you have a way of stopping it, closing it down.
Yeah, so I'll go on to anybody that'll have me for the most part.
Do you have people promoting though? Do you have people promoting to help get you
So
on
I
the
have
show?
lined up with this Carolinians United group that has, they have like 3,000 members in a Facebook group from multiple counties. I mean, even people from Waxhaw are smelling this garbage. So I'm lined up with them. They are endorsing me and supporting me. They contacted my opponent. She didn't reply when they were looking for some support from local politicians. They have, I believe they've got Michael Johnson sort of supporting them in some capacity, but I don't think that's a whole lot. And a lot of people are just kind of, turning it over to DHEC. Let DHEC handle it. And DHEC's delinquent on their report. So,
I've contacted them and they had no information for me.
Yeah, no,
They told me to go online, but they had no information for me.
I mean, when it comes down to it, DHEC works for Michael Johnson and Raye Felder, right? So, I mean.
Uh-huh. The other question I have is, again, with this issue of the smell and the health possible related issues, do you get to speak to any of the Republican groups?
Any that would invite me, I would certainly show up to.
But do you reach out and say that you have a message that you'd like them to know about?
I got to be completely honest with you. I wouldn't know where to begin with that endeavor. But I would absolutely do that, and I would stand and take questions all day long from them.
Is there a possibility that our group here can kind of advocate for you?
Sure. Y'all like advocating? Those that will, right?
So do you think that you could maybe write up a something like what you were saying tonight about your endeavor to stop the paper plant from continuing, and all the other things about the public, bike paths and access to different
Yeah, I mean,
locations?
so a lot of that's already online. I'm pretty active on social. I'm going to stop talking to the screen. I'm pretty active on social media. But I can get that information and, put it together in an email or something. Whatever you would need, I could make that. I mean, that information's out there, though. I'm on record with what I've said. I've put it in writing. It's out there. There's plans to, those of you, I don't know who here, if any, follow me on social media, but I am very active on social media. And at some point, I'll do one of these videos I've been doing right slap in front of that plant.
Will Elon Musk taking over Twitter make a difference to you on social media?
No, ma'am. Makes no difference to me. Okay. It's in Catawba, south of here. If you head south there on I-77 and get off at the exit for State Road 5 and head east, you'll run slap into it. Just follow the smoke. You would ask me that. I don't know. It's south of Dave Lyle.
I've gone down the line, and then south of it.
So it's back in there on the Catawba River. You got to drive back there to get to it.
Yeah, I'm just not aware of of this plant, how long it's been in existence. Is it cause cancer? I mean,
Okay,
is that
so-
pushed out? Is that told to people? This is the first I'm hearing about that.
So the plant has been in existence, I want to say, for a solid 40, 50 years. It's an institution in the area. At one point, the family who owned it, the Bowater family, were very popular in the area, very benevolent, great owners. Then another company bought it, and now we're at where we're at today, where this company, New Indy, has purchased it. When I was there, Resolute Forest Products owned it. Y'all might remember that name. Resolute even tried to do some community liaison kind of stuff. They got like a little mini library thing on the Riverwalk for a while there. But yeah, New Indy owns it now. Bob Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, a majority owner of the New Indy Paper Company. They disabled some devices out on these condensate fields. Imagine like a big swamp full of wastewater from the paper mill. And there were these aerators out there that kind of helped control the smell, and they abandoned that process. So that's why you're smelling it. I work there, and I didn't smell it as bad as I do from my front porch in Fort Mill. Something changed, something's wrong. Yeah. We know there's over 3,000 people in the area have signed on to, petitions wanting this thing shut down, so.
Shut down or just?
Shut down.
How many people work there?
200 now. And therein lies the problem, right? What happens to those 200 people?
You said it wasn't a big problem when it was originally owned.
Yeah, I know. The smell wasn't. So paper making has changed over the years too. At one point we used to use bleach to bleach out the paper, and the bleach decay was that paper mill smell you might be familiar with when you were younger. So bleach decays, and that decay smells awful, and it's mixed with pulp and things like that. So now it's this stuff called black liquor, which is a byproduct of this new paper making process. And so that's what you're smelling.
They could at least put some of the things they had back working.
So if that happens, and I think people have short memories sometimes when it comes to what they smell, because that's not right in front of them, like something they see or something they trip over, right? So I think if the plan is, able to make that change, I think public opinion would sway back away from the negative. But there's no effort seemingly done on this. They're giving tours to, guys who don't know a paper mill from a grain mill, and these local politicians, Ralph Norman's never set foot in a paper mill in his life. What's he know? And he's like giving all these glowing reviews to the paper mill. Get out of here. I mean, they seem, there's no like class action issues with any reported health issues out of that facility. I certainly don't have any. I was there for a year.
Thank you.
We got a hand. Yes, ma'am.
Long one at that.
Hey, Carol.
Hey, so I came from across the state line up in Democratic City, Charlotte, North Carolina.
Oh, all the way. You're a northerner.
Right. So I guess I have two things. One is I'm looking at this Jamie Harrison and the how many votes he did get, and I get very sad at him not winning. And I was a registered Republican for a long time, so I've switched parties 5 years ago. And so it's just a big concern living in just south of a very large Democrat city, and how red this place is. And how do we get over that? How will you and your team persuade and get to these people that just because there's an R after the name, they're going to vote for them without any thought to what they're voting for. And then my second part of my question while I have the mic is, as a state representative, you win. What do you do for us at that point?
Okay. So first part, I want everybody in here to be sure of one thing. This is a winnable race. This is not, I'm not David and Goliath here. I'm Goliath and Goliath. I can beat this woman. It'll be close, but she is beatable. There's a lot of people in this town that are not appreciative of the effort she has put forth to bring things to Fort Mill. I've been contacted by multiple Republicans in Fort Mill who have name value, who have expressed that they support me. The problem is I can't get anybody to stick a Matt Vilardebo sign in their front yard or put a Matt Vilardebo picture on their Facebook, right? And that would go such a long way. But let's be honest, I appeal to Republicans. I'm a white male. I'm, upper middle class or whatever you want to call me. I like to hunt and fish. I like wrestling and things like that. So I check boxes, with folks that maybe your run-of-the-mill Democrat wouldn't. I think people have like this, national media driven stereotype of what the average Democrat is. And, the Democrat Party is a very large party full of all different kind of folks. And we've got members like Nancy Pelosi and AOC, but we've also got members like myself and y'all. So, I am not here to bear the flag for the party, if you were. I'm here to win this election, and I'm here to unseat my opponent more than anything. And I think I can do that. It's going to take a combined effort of money and winning Republican votes. I can tell you that right now. I don't think for a second anybody in this room is going to show up on election day and vote for Raye Felder over me, because I said I like to hunt.
Second part of that.
Wait.
Yeah, there is a second part. So, as your representative, I plan on bringing those tax dollars back to Fort Mill in the form of, like I said, these infrastructure improvements, looking out for our teachers. My wife's a public school teacher, right? I got a dog in this fight. I'm not going to lie. She's been a public school teacher for almost 20 years. Okay, our friends are public school teachers. My aunt, who I love more in the world up in Boone, North Carolina, public school teacher for almost 50 years, okay? I love public schools, and I'm going to fight for public schools. We're going to do everything we can to undo legislation that's gone through this year. It's unconstitutional per the South Carolina state constitution to give tax dollars to private institutions. Yet there they are in Columbia doing what they're doing. And both Raye Felder voted in support of all that stuff. Michael Johnson voted in support of all that stuff.
Matt, going back to the paper mill, like in our community, we can look out, I guess, towards the west maybe, and see this cloud of smoke. Is that it? Is that
No, so that's just
something different?
That's just condensate from the nuclear plant.
Okay.
They have a big cooling tower, so those big like tubes you see that everybody associates with nuclear power plants.
Okay.
They're just giant cooling towers that generate cooling water for the plant. And what you see coming out the top is just condensate. It's just concentrated water, basically. It's like clouds.
And
it's safe.
And the other thing I wanted to ask you, Shelley had mentioned, if we can have some information that we can be able to post. And Gary, are you okay with if Matt gets you that information that we can post it? Okay, so that will be great. I just wanted to follow up on that.
If we had something that we could post on our Facebook pages, that would be great.
Absolutely. So when I get done and set the mic down, I want to, go around and talk to everybody individually, make sure everybody's got one of those business cards. It's got a snazzy QR code on it. You can scan that with your phone. It'll take you to something called a link tree, which has links to my phone number, my email, my Facebook, my Twitter, my TikTok, my ActBlue, and my PayPal. It's super easy. You just hold your phone up to your camera up to that QR code and hit the follow link. It's real easy.
Matt, can you talk to us a little bit about the primary? I understand that you're an automatic in the primary, but tell us about other Democratic candidates that would be on the ballot and when the primary is.
So in the primary election, you're going to be picking your Democrat for governor, for what is it? House District 5. It's between two people. You got two Democrats running for that to decide who runs against Kevin, not Kevin, Kevin's running, but to decide who runs against Ralph Norman. State education superintendent's a big one. I think we have 3 Democrats running for that. There is no Republican primary because they couldn't find more than one Republican with a master's degree who was qualified to run for that. So, and she doesn't technically have it yet. We're hoping she will achieve this come election day in November. But she gets on the ballot without actually having the required degree. Just saying. To the incumbent goes the spoils, right?
When is the primary?
June 7th? Yes, June 7th.
The Senate race is going to be on the primary too, right?
Yes.
Against
Tim Scott.
There's 2 or 3 women running against him?
Yep, and that one will be up for decision too. County Council's got 2 Republicans running, Debbie Cloninger and Patrick White. That's an important seat. Unfortunately, no Democrat stepped up to run for that. So whoever wins this primary is our county council member for Fort Mill now. We have our own county council member for Fort Mill. I've met both of them. I find them both to be relatively pleasant individuals who are, who can pull it off the job. Yes, ma'am.
If you were in the House, in the South Carolina House, would you have anything to do with anything with that Panthers training facility in Rock Hill?
So, my thoughts on things like that are, I don't know if Rock Hill was ready to cut that deal. It seems like there was a skill set missing there on the political level, on the municipal level, if you were. David Tepper is a man who, sweats money. And this guy cuts deals that'll make most people quiver in their boots. And, he's got no time for, Rock Hill silliness. And I think that's what happened over there. I don't know if tax dollars supporting the Panthers is a good idea. 1 team, 2 states. I get all that. I just don't know if Rock Hill is the right place for that. The good news is the work on I-77 will finish. That is the federal interstate, so you don't have to worry about them Frankensteining the interstate. All that will be finished. But that complex and the land that David Tepper owns, who knows what will happen with that. It might be like the lovely tower over there behind NAFO.
Oh.
Maybe they could sell it to that church that bought the tower since they're so good about finishing things and following through with what they say they're going to do.
What's the status of that?
Nothing. I mean, that Morning Star, is that the name of them? Bought it, and they have done nothing. As promised, they said they would make renovations and fix it. And, that thing needs to come down. It's got to go. It doesn't fit. It's not Fort Mill. Put a peach orchard there, right?
I could use a little political education as a relative newcomer down here. Tell us about the district.
So my house district is Fort Mill proper. I am only York County. I am Fort Mill east of I-77. There's a new district west of I-77. So they basically took the old SC-26 and chopped off a chunk of it with I-77. So Baxter and Tegakay and all that are now part of the new SC-66, which Carla LaTrenta is the Democrat running there. Great woman. She's also the one. She's our Democrat. I would strongly suggest you guys invite her. She's an attorney, super awesome lady. y'all are going to really like her.
So this House district that we're in is mostly just Fort Mill.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost a mirror of my town council at-large seat. I mean, it's all of Fort Mill proper. There's a little more inching up towards Carowinds that wasn't in the town council boundaries.
Matt, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, that's it. I mean, I thank you all so much for letting me come here and speak to you and being active participants in all this. It's so meaningful. Voter engagement is another thing that's going to win this election for me. I love talking to people. I got no problem knocking on doors. I love doing it. Love getting to talk to people. I don't care who they are. Sometimes I just walking through the neighborhoods, working my list of people, and I'll go see somebody I think might be receptive to me and go knock on their door. So the voter engagement is big to me. So having this rapport with y'all and being able to get engaged here was, I really appreciate it. This is, good stuff. And I hope you guys are going to go out and tell 50 people about me.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I'll play president again, and we'll see if we can invite you back to one of our meetings between now and the election.
Absolutely.
And see if we're going to try to get as many candidates here as we can. I mean, we'll try to get more of our own group to show up. There's 73 members in our online group. We'll have our next meeting in person seems to be working. The technology to get us on Zoom as well seems to be working, and pretty happy about that. So we'll wrap this up, and you can talk to these guys one-on-one without the cameras and all that stuff going. And we will see you guys next month.